Time to get your Mandalorian on. Welcome, everybody, to our spoiler-filled discussion on Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. I'm Tom Connors. Welcome. With us is the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
Greetings. I'm good, thank you. How about the rest of you out there?
Hopefully everybody's doing well. I'm doing the best I can. We also have Rob, the voice of Midnight's Edge, with us.
Who is muted?
And I'm muted. Hello again, everybody.
We have another fellow Norwegian with us today, as he would say, now there are two of them. Mr. Steve Kenobi, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, there's two Vikings.
Yes, absolutely. Prepare for the Norwegian invasion.
Absolutely. And speaking of invasions, we had an invasion of Star Wars, an hour-long episode of Mandalorian.
Yes, good times. Finally, something good with the name Star in it. It's been a long time since the last time. Actually, I think the last time was the previous episode of The Mandalorian, wasn't it?
We're gonna have an internal Norwegian feud, I think.
Prepare for the Norwegian Civil War.
Yeah. No, it's not gonna be that.
East versus west of Norway is gonna be.
Yeah,
East Coast and West Coast representing.
I kind of ended up giving it a one thumbs up and one down, basically.
Well, you know what? Before we get into that, let's all begin with how do we stand on the Mandalorian in general, and what did we think of the previous season? Now, let's begin with our distinguished Norwegian guest. Stig, what did you feel about the Mandalorian Season 1 in general, and what did you expect of Season 2 going in?
Season 1 I thought was okay, but if it didn't have, Star Wars effects in it, I wouldn't even know it was a Star Wars show, because there's nothing in it that you don't see on other sci-fi shows, right? Because you had all those filler episodes, they're teaching a village to fight for itself and stuff. You'll see that on Stargate, won't you?
You'll see it in westerns in general, and Stargate was kind of a western in a way, and so is this. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's good idea. Sloppy writing and continuity issues with the rest of Star Wars, I guess. But watchable, absolutely watchable, and it's way better than the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, that's not a very high bar to cross, is it? But yeah, okay, nope. So not a huge fan of The Mandalorian Season 1. So what were your expectations for Season 2?
Not much. I've learned to not expect too much of Disney Star Wars. So I was completely on the neutral, and I wasn't looking forward to it. I just simply didn't care, but I did watch it, though. Yeah, I'm 50-50 all over the place, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair. Rob, your thoughts on Season 1 and expectations for Season 2?
Season 1 was my thoughts. Season 1 is, if we got this initially, Star Wars wouldn't be in the mess that it's in. But all things being equal, I thought Season 1 was good, serviceable. Granted that Star Wars hasn't been faring very well lately. I thought Season 1 was, this is nice. Let's watch that. This is pretty good. Oh, The Mandalorian's on. Oh, okay, I have to watch that again. Oh, and you didn't dread looking for having to watch it, which was good. That was a nice change of pace for Star Wars. As for this episode, this episode was good, was watchable, didn't hate it.
Well, we'll get into this episode afterwards. Tom, your expectations going in and your thoughts on Season 1 in general.
Helps by unmute. Of course, with everything going on, I was a little lukewarm going into Season 1. It grew on me. Of course, I adore the baby. Everybody loves the child, aka Baby Yoda. well, unless you're Ryan Canal, that is. No, I know he has his critics, that's for sure. And like me, I was a bit critical of the show at first. It grew on me. No, it's not perfect. Yeah, it definitely has some issues, but it had some points where it felt like genuine Star Wars. I felt like I liked a lot of the characters that were introduced. I like the whole idea of it being like a Western, the Western meets Eastern storytelling, kind of like where Star Wars kind of grew from to begin with, kind of thing. And, it was just a great overall, in the end, yeah, not perfect, but like Rob said, I mean, if they would have came out of the gate with this instead, I think it would have definitely got us more on board with Disney Star Wars down the road, because then it would have given more time to concentrate on actually building a trilogy before, shooting their load and then, giving us this way after the fact. So now it's like a we're sorry thing. Well, it means more to, as most of the women I'm sure in the audience will agree, it means more if a man gives you flowers and all that kind of stuff for no good reason than when he's saying sorry.
Wait, you're supposed to give flowers?
Yeah, only when you're courting. But and as for me, and this was like what both I and Mr. H that was joining us as we reviewed season 1. What we found to be interesting is that all of the panelists in our live shows were like you, well, basically was you. So no surprise there that you were like the born and bred Star Wars fans, and you were quite lukewarm on it. Whereas myself and Mr. H, for that matter, who really aren't that big Star Wars fans, we really enjoyed it. I was like surprised by your reactions then, and I am still, because to me, The Mandalorian is exactly what was needed after the really lackluster sequel trilogy. I think that if they had given us The Mandalorian right off the bat instead of the sequel trilogy, Star Wars would be in a much better position right now, obviously. But I think that many people would have had some of the same complaints, that it doesn't do anything new, that it's too boring, it's too Western, blah, blah, blah. But right now, after everything that has happened, I happen to think that The Mandalorian was the perfect thing to take it back to the roots a little bit. Slightly different roots, but more emphasis on storytelling and characters without like all of these end of the world and none of the Rey Mary Sue thing going on. Like more interesting characters that, to me at least, feels more natural in the world of Star Wars than anything we've had in the sequel trilogy. So I really enjoyed it as a non-Star Wars fan. Maybe that's a big part of it, but I also greatly enjoyed the Western aspects of it, like the Sergio Leone tributes, the score that many had issues with. I freaking love it. So yeah, and as for me, I was pleasantly surprised by The Mandalorian season 1. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and I was looking forward to season 2 probably more than I've looked forward to any other series coming out, apart from obviously the Orville. I look more forward to the Orville. I look more forward to Sandman. But other than
Cobra
that,
Kai.
this Cobra Kai and the He-Man series, the animated one. Other than that, like this is what I was looking forward to the most. So that's our expectations going in. And now let's get into the pilot. Not the pilot episode, but the season premiere, the first episode of season 2, The Marshal. What did you think about it? Just brief impressions, and we'll go through the specifics. Stig.
I thought Timothy Oliphant was probably the best actor in the episode. He stole the show. It was awesome. In Disney canon, though, you have a plot hole because that's not how he got the armor. the character. So they're contradicting their own canon with this.
Well, that's something that they've gone quite good at, isn't it? Like, how many times have they rewritten canon the last year?
Oh, there's more than just that scene in this episode that contradicts stuff. There's a couple of really bad ones actually, but Timothy Olyphant was he was superb, and I thought it would have been more fun if he had played the Mandalorian.
Right?
He has way more charisma than Pedro Pascal, right? He the Mandalorian himself is kind of boring, but Timothy Olyphant was 10 out of 10 for him, and the rest of the actors were great as well, though. But good addition to the Star Wars continuity, whatever there is.
Rob, your thoughts on this episode?
Well, how did he get the armor from?
Well, we saw it. Like he got people.
I mean, what was taking the continuity
in the Disney continuity?
I know in the Disney continuity, but
the Empire never occupied Tatooine.
Okay,
they just made that up for the show. It never happened. Because I even checked it on Wikipedia for the Disney canon. Mm-hmm. No mention of it. So that's a big thing. And he was created by Chuck Wendig, the insane Star Wars writer. The characters from his, the first book he wrote, Aftermath. And
that's the score against the character right there.
Chuck Wendig's fan fiction.
He gets the armor after arguing with another character inside one of the hot sail barges that you see in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
And the armor is in there, and he shoots the guy in the shoulder and takes the armor.
Oh, okay.
And that's canon, because everything Star Wars released under Disney is equally canon. So, the Clone Wars episode 14 is just as canon as, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Well, we all know what Disney does is just glorified fan fiction. I mean, but anyway.
So, little continuity error there.
I liked it. I liked it. I was dreading that he was going to take off the helmet. Timothy Olyphant was going to take off the helmet. It was going to be a woman under there, like per Kathleen Kennedy's rumors we've been hearing. Remember those rumors? But no, Timothy Olyphant is actually really good in this. A couple parts it tended to the pace dragged a little bit, but they picked it back up. It was all in all, it was a very serviceable episode. I didn't feel like I waste my time with it.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm kind of in both camps. I didn't hate it. It needed a good 10 minutes trimmed out of it, maybe. Like it does drag. Like you can tell they filled it out to have a 50-minute episode, or it could at least lose 5 minutes anyway. But no, I mean, it was pretty good. I like the Western feel of it. Timothy Olyphant stole the show. What's her face? The mechanic lady, though, I don't know what the fuck happened between the first season and this one. She forgot how to act. Like, her scene is cringe as hell.
Amy Sedaris.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck happened there, unless, and this is, now I'll put an asterisk next to this, unless she's gonna, like, there's something she's hiding and she's playing it up. You know what I mean? Like if something comes up later and like there's a reason she's acting this way, because we could tell she was like really hopped up on getting the baby. Now, if she turns around and comes up with a plan to like kidnap the baby or whatever, then I'll understand why she was acting the way she was. But as this episode stands, her acting was cringe as fuck. Otherwise, for the most part, the rest of the episode is pretty good. I mean, it felt a lot like similar to that one episode with the Jawas, but Timothy Olyphant made a big difference. So, I mean, it was a good show. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I'm not aware of the whole EU part of it, so to me, it doesn't really, compute. Obviously, the end of it kind of caught me off guard, but I kind of knew at the same time we were going to see that going. But I was expecting it to be him right away, as in Boba Fett. So that was kind of a little bit of a twist that I thought was kind of, it played with my expectations a little bit there. And I was kind of glad that the baby didn't do anything real extravagant, because otherwise we'd have a lot of people reading about that, because every time Baby Yoda does something, everybody loses their minds. So the fact that he was
biggest thing he did was like pushing the button and closing the shutters.
I was going to say he was almost non-existent this episode, and it's funny because I swear somewhere on like Twitter or something like that, somebody made a comment about him being the whole episode, and I'm like, what? He's hardly in it. It's like he's almost an afterthought through most of the episode. The only time he really becomes a big deal is like in that one scene that I was just talking about, and then just before the Mandalorian, gets ate by the monster, whatever. He tells Timothy Oliphant's character to take care of the baby or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean that's about it that he's in the episode, really.
Yeah. And as for me, I liked it. It was. Obviously, the whole episode was a side quest, but it was a fun side quest with some nice tremors and Dune references with a huge sandworm and everything. And there you had like Perfection, Nevada, and everything. So yeah, good times. I thought it was fun. Timothy Oliphant was great. The Sand People, who I've never liked, they were surprisingly cool in this one as well. They were like fun, like the way that he interacted with them, and like some surprises, like for instance when they were feeding this giant sandmaster, feeding him like one of those big bull creatures. I can never remember the name of Bantha or whatever the hell it is.
That one there is the biggest plot hole, because
do tell.
The Sand People in Disney canon and the old canon have almost mythical bond with their banthas. They get a bantha and they have it for life. And when the Sand People find a wife, the bantha gets to mate with a female bantha, and they never kill the bantha because that's sacrilege, and they have their own graveyards for them and all that, and they never kill them for food or anything like that. So it's on a deep religious level, so they would never ever use one as bait. That would not happen. That's on par with someone from a certain religion eating bacon.
Yeah, I see.
So it would have made more sense for one to sacrifice themselves over the actual animal, is what you're saying.
Or someone from another certain religion suddenly starting to eat a cow.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like
huge no. If they were to sacrifice a bantha, they would do it by riding it into the crate dragon or something, right?
Yeah.
They would never just use it as bait like that.
I was kind of. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they won't again. And they won't do so again after the bantha or the sandworm evidently recognized this and went straight for the guy doing the sacrifice rather than the bantha. That was like the fun thing. That was like, I did not see that coming, but that was pretty fun, I thought.
Yeah, there were some fun moments here and there. Did anybody else catch R2D2 and C3PO on the wall there?
Nope.
Yeah, on the shot. The graffiti, yeah. The space graffiti, yeah. Did I just kill the conversation?
No.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was pretty cool. And like this deviances with canon. Yeah, well, it's a shame that they weren't aware of that. Is that from Legends or is that established in what is now canon?
It's from both. It hasn't changed in Disney canon. If you go to Wikipedia and look at the canon article about Banthas and Tusken Raiders, it's like 2 pages, so there's no reason why the writers couldn't just read that and it's Disney canon big time.
At the age of 15, Tusken became an adult and had to slay a crate dragon and cut out the precious pearl found in its stomach. Yeah, they did show the pearl.
I was curious about what the hell that was, but I figured that's probably some canon thing or something that.
Well, that's where I was kind of comparing it to the. That's where I was comparing it to the Jawa episode, because remember, all it was about is they wanted that fucking egg.
Yeah, the whole trap they set up with the bantha as bait outside the cave, and then they use explosives. That's ripped off from it's ripped off from the Knights of the Old Republic video game, where you join a Twilight hunter, big game hunter, and you place mines outside the cave and use a bantha as bait, and the dragon comes out and it blows up its belly.
That's not. Yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
play that.
they expanded on it though in this show, and they did it way better because
All
that fight was awesome. But they got the premise from the game easily.
Okay. All I kept thinking of at the end when they were carving up the crate dragon meat was that, man, that you guys got ribs for years now. I mean, geez, that's a lot of meat they're taking.
I'm thinking they better eat fast, because that thing is gonna
it's gonna spoil in no
rot
time.
real quick in that sun.
Yeah, I have to hope they could find some huge salt deposit to preserve it. Jeez. But anyway.
Probably there's lots of that in the desert, but anyway. So yeah, what else stood out in the episode? So yeah, there was that thing. Were there any other major deviances from canon or rip-offs from legend or something like that we should be aware, Stig?
2 more.
Yeah.
The first one is when the Mandalorian returns to the villagers after having spoken to the Tusken Raiders. He says, and this is just a little nitpick though. He tells them, the Tusken Raiders have promised not to raise their blasters against you if you join and help. And well, Tusken Raiders don't use blasters; they use regular rifles with bullets. The Mandalorian should have known that.
Yeah, could that have been a case of him just like using a shorthand instead of being too literal about it? Like, they're not going to shoot at you.
Yeah, he used the word blaster, but like I said, it's a little nitpick I had because I noticed it. It's like a little lore issue. And the last one is the crate dragon. Crate dragons used to have 4 legs back in the day. Now it's a worm, and it moves under the sand, right?
Yeah, because Dune was supposed to be out by now. I imagine that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, so it's under the sand, and it's under the sand inside the cave. So why does it need to have shelter inside the cave if it's under the sand anyway?
That's a good point. That's also something that I reacted to, that it didn't go far enough out for them to blow it up right away. Then why did they put the explosive so far away?
Yeah, and it's the cave is redundant if you're underground anyway. But
or maybe he has to come up to sleep and to sleep and breathe.
I don't know. When it came out, it was under though. So, maybe let's just say it crawled out of the ground while in the cave. That would explain it. But I thought it was a bit odd.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that was odd or off about it?
Oh yeah. At the beginning of the episode, the Mandalorian is on a different planet and he's talking to a guy about, needs to find another Mandalorian, right? And the guy tells him, oh yeah, there's one on Tatooine. And he gets to Tatooine and he asks around, and apparently there might be one in a town that's not even on the map, that they haven't had contact with for decades or something like that. So if the locals on Tatooine don't know about the place where it is or whatever, how can someone on a different planet know? I thought that was a bit convenient too. I mean, but that's not lore breaking.
Story, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of sloppy writing, but other than that, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's move on to.
We had a
let's
couple
see what
super
else
chats come in. Did you want to address those real quick?
Yeah, okay, we can do those before we start getting into what's the deal with Django Fett. But let's do the super chats first. And I got them right here. And the first one was from Miranda Sinistra, who says, in reference to what I said earlier about there being 2 Norwegians on the show this time, better a Norwegian invasion than a Chinese one. Yeah, I think that's difficult to disagree with. They're being invaded by Norway in 2020 is not quite the same as being invaded by Norway in 1020. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And Stargate 404 says they really played into Western genre with this one. Oh yeah, they did, which I don't mind, but that's my opinion. Opinions are divided on the subject. Let's say
they call him the Marshal. I mean, there's the whole
Yeah.
the gunslinger comes to the remote town to bring law and order. There's a lot of that.
exactly.
Yeah, so
And
it's kind of like the gunslinger shows up, teams up with the marshal, and then they team up with the locals and the natives.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, to deal with a common threat.
Mm-hmm.
It's Western all over the place.
Yeah, indeed. And Nicholas Horton says, I hope they don't screw over Boba Fett. Yeah, we're going to get into that in a moment. And the Fessman93 says, Tusken Raiders' lives matter. So, yeah, good times. Okay, let's get into. I'm just going to see that that there weren't anyone that I missed. If we're up to speed, we are up to speed. Okay, we heard of Boba Fett from Nicholas Horton. So let's get into Boba Fett. How do you think that he lost his armor, and that ended up with the Sand People? With the Raiders at least.
That's explained in that novel, I believe.
The one that I'm never going to read, that I will never ever read under any circumstance.
Yes.
So you're going to have to give me a brief summary. Who wrote it? Was it Chuck Wendig?
Oh yeah.
Okay, then I'll definitely not read it.
They basically just found it in an old, those ships that Jabba used when he got killed. Was in one of those, and that's all I remember. But Boba Fett must have gotten out of the Sarlacc and removed the armor. I don't know why, but
yeah, that's what I'm curious. Why would because spoilers, we see him alive at the end. We see him without his armor. So at some point he removed his armor. So that should be fun.
He also had a Tusken Raider gaffy stick and a Tusken Raider rifle, so he's probably killed some of them because they wouldn't just give it to him.
Or maybe he had the offer to do a bargain that he couldn't refuse.
Well, obviously they're gonna have to tell us at some point, because you can't just introduce a character like that is thought to be dead and then not gonna. Well, never mind. They did that with Solo. Forget it.
Oh, they did it with Darth Maul as well.
That's what I was just saying. Yeah. Even though that's the thing is usually, the live action stuff, they try to remember that not everybody's seen the animated stuff and not everybody's read every comic and book. So and that's kind of the whole thing with Disney not trying to hang on to the EU in the first place. Plus it's a lot easier for them to shed it because then they don't have to pay attention to it. But they can just, conveniently steal from it whenever they want, though.
Oh yeah, the problem is though them scrapping the EU is fine, but they said they were going to do something better, right? And it would be complete synergy between the comics and novels and all that.
Yeah, they lied.
Oh yes. And what happened to no source material? They just ripped off a scene from a video game.
Well, not only that, you pointed out, Stieg, that Terrio has a novel right in front of him in one of the interviews or whatever that he steals basically big parts of the Rise of Skywalker from in front of him.
Yeah, he has one of the old Thrawn trilogy books, the one that has a secret Star Destroyer fleet on the other side of the galaxy or whatever.
Wait for Thrawn to show up here. It's a matter of time.
Yeah,
and I'm not making that up.
No, I know he's going to show up.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the next episode. But go ahead.
We just got a comment about Wendig. Andres Fernandez says, if they rewrite what Chuck Wendig did, I'm fine with that. Also, didn't it have Star Trek vibes? negotiation between different races and species. Well, actually, it had Western vibes, and what you see as Star Trek vibes is actually Western vibes, because that's kind of like how Star Trek started out. It started out as wagon train to the stars. It was supposed to be a space Western. That's how it was pitched, because Westerns were the hottest things around at the time when Star Trek was created. So all of that's the Western influence.
Basically, this is like the whole story is just like a Western. It's like if you had like, you know, a town that was terrorized by, let's say, a lion. And you know, it's not a very big town and they're not real equipped to handle it, but there's also like, say, a tribe of Indians close by, and they decide to work together to kill a common enemy, which is the lion that's killing, like, you know, a bunch of their people or something like that. That's basically like the kind of story you'd have here, and you hire a gunslinger, or you know the kind of thing. Like that's the story. It's like a Western, basically.
Yeah. It's basically Jaws, really. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Jaws is kind of
yeah,
set up like a
same
Western as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. Mr. Tickletrunk says, I think the claim no source material is a trick and an excuse to rip off other things and divert suspicion, even ripping off the source material. No, you know what?
yeah.
I think it was a matter of Kathleen Kennedy being incompetent and having practiced an answer without vetting it with anyone. I think it was that simple, because obviously everyone knows. And even people that otherwise defending her had to drag her over the coals for that one. So honestly, I think that was a matter of her being out of touch with what she's supposed to manage, and just humiliating herself, exposing her complete and utter lack of knowledge.
Well, that, or like we said, it could even have been jabbed at people at the time. There were a few possible targets, like Benioff and Weiss and Kevin Feige, who she could have been clearly upset with, and she was, you know, trying to conflate the two by saying that and just making herself sound like a complete moron. But I believe it's a lot like Star Trek on Star Wars, to where if like you're a fan, a real fan, they don't really want you working there, because you're a liability more than you are a help. Because they want somebody who's going to go, oh yeah, that's great, change it, do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Rogue One, which was a fairly good movie. That one was a ripoff from an old Star Wars story as well. They just merged Jyn Erso with the leading guy from that old story, and renamed her, because the old female character that helped steal the Death Star plans was named Jan Ors. Jyn Erso. She even had the same kind of hat with the goggles on it.
Yeah, well, we all know this, that basically they ripped off everything. They ripped off the source material or the EU big time. And that's like the fun thing, that they even said that that's part of the reason why they were making the EU non-canon, but they were going to strip mine everything good from it. But apparently Kathleen Kennedy missed that one memo. So honestly, I attribute that simply to her own lack of skill and awareness of the property that she was still on paper managing at the time. I think there really is not much else to it other than that. But let's get into Boba Fett. Or get back to Boba Fett. How excited are we to see the character return?
I don't really care. I never had a Boba fetish. I know he's a fan favorite, but he's just, I just don't see him as anything much more than a fancy stormtrooper. That's what I've always seen him as. I mean, I get why he's adored, but he never really did anything that cool in the series for me to be like, oh yeah, that's the dude, man. That's the guy to watch out for. I mean, Vader's the one who did everything on fucking Cloud City, and
yeah, he was the one who changed the deal.
Yeah, he went out like a bitch in Return of the Jedi. So I mean, it just kind of didn't really do anything. And I mean, yeah, if you see the Christmas special, I can see where, you know, people who were old enough at the time to see that would think he's amazing and cool. And that's cool. You know, I get that. I have nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm trying to say, but as far as him being a part of this, they've got to give me a good fucking explanation as to why he lived. And it better be better than Robot Chicken.
Yeah, there's an interview with George Lucas from almost 20 years ago when he did the special editions, and when he added some scenes to Star Wars and all that. George said he was gonna add a scene of Boba Fett crawling out of the Sarlacc, but he didn't have time to shoot it. So it was supposed to be there, and he knew the fans knew that Fett survived and stuff because it was in the novels. But you're right though, Tom, that Fett doesn't do anything in the movies really. His fame just came from the EU. That's where the fans started loving him, right?
Yeah, and he's a collectible character. I get it. No, I mean, I'm not dumping on anybody who likes him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to like fight off any like hordes of Boba Fett fans or anything. No, I mean, I get it. He's like Darth Vader. He's cool looking. He's got cool gadgets and shit. And he came out at a time where, I'm sure Rob remembers this because he's old enough, because he's an old fart. He was the only toy you had that was new between Star Wars and Empire, because that was the only thing that they kind of let you see at that time as far as the new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, it was like, oh man, who's this guy? Oh, we're gonna find out more about him. Man, we never did.
Yeah. There you go. Well, maybe we'll do so now. So I'm looking forward to what is to come in the next episodes to see him there. We got one more super chat before we round out. Then I have a question I want to address as well. Matthew Anderson, to begin with, sent us $4.99. Thank you so much, saying it's bad enough that the EU was decanonized, but now it's being erased from the view and memories of current fans while being poorly copied. Stig, your thoughts on that? Is this an accurate assessment?
In part, yes, because the EU books are no longer in print. They're basically reduced to Kindle. So if you want to get them, eBay is your best shot, unless you find someone on Amazon still. But they are re-releasing the old EU comics in omnibuses these days. There's a new one coming out in December, so it's not entirely dead. They're making money from it. And last year they released a sequel to the the old Marvel Star Wars comics from the 80s, and that comic was the second highest selling printed Star Wars product of 2019. So the old EU does have a bigger fan base, I think, than Disney realizes. But it's not dead yet, though. I mean, that there's talk of the Force Unleashed 3, the game, which is also EU. So fingers crossed.
Adam Wolford sends in $5. Says in the EU, he killed the beast and crawled out and got his ship from IG-88, and I think he's saying started to go after Han and Luke. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, cool.
If he just says something like that, then that's all we need, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, and we got a doctor in the chat now, of course, just as we're closing out. But if you want me to send him the link real quick, I can.
Yeah, or we can have him join us for next week's discussion, and we'll do a more detailed and thorough one right now. I think we've covered basically everything there is to cover about this episode. I have one comment I want to address, though. Stig, my fellow Norwegian, you'll like this one. Prophet of Doom says, "Hey Andre, is Santa Claus an Americanized Odin? What do you think, Stig?"
No.
Yeah, that's my answer too. I'm gonna raise your no with a hell no. That being said though, there actually is an Americanized Odin, not in North America. Well, actually, there may be in North America too, because I am not too familiar with the ins and outs of Native American mythology, but I would not be surprised if there's an Odin-like character there. But I know for a fact that there is one in Southern American mythology. I'm never able to pronounce the name something, and he's also known as Kon-Tiki. And this guy, that's Odin. Like, I completely recognized the description when I read about him. I'm like, Jesus, that's Odin. He took a vacation from Norway, and he went to Southern America for a spell. And like when the Southern Americans greeted the Spaniards coming, because there were big white people with beards, they thought that was their god coming back again, Odin. Of course, he's not called Odin, but from the description, it's obviously Odin, which just goes back to my theory that Norse mythology, there's something way behind there, and it goes back to before the Ice Age, but that's a discussion for another time.
See, now you say Kon-Tiki, all I can think about is the guys who crossed the ocean on the raft, and that.
Yeah, they're also Norwegian, but they named that raft after this god, who also left over the ocean. That's why they took that name.
I saw that raft, and it said they crossed the ocean on that thing. No, hell no, no way I'm getting on that thing.
Yeah, and they even videoed it. That's also pretty decent movie for those that haven't seen that.
Yeah, this is what Norwegians do. It's not dangerous.
Yeah, no. We've been doing that for 1,000 years minimum. So yeah, Captain Robert April, yeah, Kon-Tiki, indeed. Check out the movie. I have some mixed feelings to it, but it's not a bad movie. And with that, I do believe that we have covered pretty much everything that there is to cover about this first episode. Join us next week as we review episode 2. And maybe we'll have Script Doctor and someone else join us as well. And then we'll have some more to talk about when we're 2 episodes in. And maybe we'll get back to the main quest after this side quest was over. With that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, my fellow Norwegian, for participating in the Norwegian invasion on YouTube. That's much appreciated. I can't do everything on my own all the time, so that's awesome.
Well,
And,
this is probably
says hello from Sweden. So we have a Swede in the chat. I like Swedes, but maybe you don't. So
no. I don't. But technically, this is the biggest panel that has ever been on YouTube, because one Norwegian counts as 10. So there's 22 on this panel.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
Is it that fucking Valkyrie blood? Viking blood, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I've been I've been to Norway. What does that count for? Maybe like a half of one, like a half.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, you some Norwegianness rubs off on you. So yeah, you get another half person.
Okay.
Oh well, he's not going to want me to, but please check out Steve Kenobi's channel and subscribe to that, because I get more videos.
Him and Christy are the only ones who watch them.
Bullshit. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Check out Steve's channel, and we will see you guys later. Oh, don't forget Friday night to start and soon.